Is it possible to beat a 200cc cup in Mario Kart without touching your controller? This might sound like an impossible task until you realize that Mario Kart 8 has an auto-driving feature along with smart steering. And there are already videos out there like this one from Game Explain showing that it's possible to win without doing anything at all using these features. But this was all done in a pretty slow speed along with only being a single stage. So today I'll be attempting to win an entire 4-race cup on 200cc, the hardest speed in Mario Kart without being allowed to touch the controller. Would it be possible? Well, let's find out. So the rules are simple. The only times I'm allowed to touch the controller is during the initial setup and in between the races where you would need to click through the results to be able to proceed. I would also have to get first place on a total of 4 consecutive stages using 200cc. Getting first place without a total of 60 points would not count. With all that out of the way, I decided to just test out our standing by just jumping straight into the Flower Cup. And I gotta say I was really surprised by some of the trajectories the auto steering decided to take. But yeah, Toad really didn't stand a chance at all here since I was basically stuck in 11th or 12th the entire race. And the same stayed true for the next 3 levels of the cup too. Although I was able to claim 8th place in Twisted Mansion. But that might have just been pure luck, which wouldn't really cut it out for this challenge unfortunately. I did also try seeing what would happen on some of the DLC levels, namely the Propeller Cup. But yeah, I got basically the exact same results as last time. So it's almost certainly not possible to complete this challenge under normal circumstances, unless you get extremely lucky. The rules of this challenge did only state that we needed to complete a cup with 4 unique levels however, which means there are still ways it might be possible. So I hopped on versus races to see if there were some specific levels in this game, which might give us a better shot at this. So I immediately jumped back into Sky High Sunday, since despite the results on the last try of this level, I still weren't completely convinced this stage was out of the question just yet. And my assumptions were luckily completely right as I got lucky this time around, and was actually able to front run for quite a while, shifting from being around the mid-pack to the top 3 positions. And much to my surprise and amazement, Toad actually secured his first ever first place victory by his lonesome. I still felt it required a lot of luck to be possible, but just knowing it was technically possible now, I pushed on and experimented with a few other stages to see if it was possible to replicate the same thing again. My first idea was trying out Baby Park, since it's basically a smaller version of Sky High Sunday. But this turned out horribly, and I got 12th, which again made me question if this challenge was even possible. I had at this point started to grasp the mechanics of auto steering a little better however, and it seems the reason I was able to win by doing nothing at Sky High Sunday is the extreme lack of turns present at this stage. Since the auto steering always takes the widest possible turns, having the fewest amount of them in a level would be crucial. And Sky High Sunday was the perfect mix between having a lot of straight areas to drive and very few turns. So for those of you familiar with Mario Kart, you might recall a level that's basically an even more perfect fit for those requirements. And I'm of course talking about the Excite Bike Arena, which also much like Sky High Sunday is just a glorified huge oval with mostly straights. And like expected, this track turned out to be perfect too, and it was consistently front running, and I ended up getting 3rd place, which isn't bad at all considering how awful the earlier races went. So I went on to see if I could find more levels that could work, but even extremely simple tracks like Mario Kart 7 Stadium went horribly, which is kinda when I realized that I'd need to come up with a more consistent strategy for this to be possible. I did have some luck on a few levels however, like Bowser's Castle 3 where I managed to get 3rd, or Moonway Highway where I somehow magically managed to stay in 1st for a while. But both of these cases felt more like pure luck, and it would be extremely hard to consistently replicate, especially when you have to do it 4 times in a row. So I was yet again back to the drawing board to come up with a better strategy. So we know for sure that the driver isn't going to get any better. So I had the absolute stroke of genius as to try turning the CPU difficulty down a little to match our Toad a little better. But this yet again yielded very inconsistent results. Sure, it was a little easier getting high ranking positions, but it was still purely luck based. If only there was a way to more consistently keep the entire pack close together for the entirety of the race, it would at least be a more consistent toss of the coin who would come out on top. Which is when I had another stroke of genius as to try to only have the blue shell as the selected item. Now this might sound crazy at first, but it turned out to work perfectly at keeping the pack close together, as the ones front running would always get hit by a blue shell, having the cycle repeat itself indefinitely throughout the whole level, which would actually give us a slight chance. In fact, we actually had a huge advantage over the CPU with the constant barrage of blue shells, as we would always take extremely wide turns, which was just perfect for avoiding the blue shells blast radiuses. And after literal hours of bashing my head against the wall, hoping to get lucky with one of these cups, a miracle struck and the skies aligned to make it possible for Toad to actually win 4 races in a row. Yeah, baby! I am so proud of my boy. Anyway, subscribe for more dumb stuff.